Daniel Ruiz came to the United States about 14 years ago as a young adult. He was looking for the same things when he arrived in this country as all of us are looking for. He wanted a better life. Over these past 14 years, Daniel got married and they had a son. He got a good job and he paid all his taxes. Daniel began playing music in his church and even became the lead music player in his congregation. And he provided for his tiny family. He was never arrested, and in these 14 years, he has no criminal history. But about 3 months ago, he was pulled over because his car was emitting too much exhaust. And as they looked at his license, the Border Patrol was called. Daniel was detained for a month, and just 30 days ago, he was told that he had to leave the United States to be returned to Mexico. The Shadyside Presbyterian Church in Tucson, where Daniel lives, heard about his case and decided as a congregation to provide him sanctuary. Just last week, several local clergy surrounded him as he walked into the sanctuary of the church. Daniel will stay inside the church until the immigration authorities close his case and allow him to stay in the United States. The church reports that this is the first time in 30 years that it has offered sanctuary to a family in the community. We know our current system is in serious need of reform, don't we? The church has decided to offer shelter to this modern family until our administration, whatever one it is able to show Daniel and many others like him grace in the midst of changing times. We still don't know when Congress will reform our immigration laws, and some of us, this church, believes that it cannot wait. When it comes to people like Daniel, who are strong members of the community, have no criminal record, and have a child who is a U.S. citizen, perhaps something can be done for Daniel and his family. Now, Daniel Ruiz and his wife Carla and their son Carlos are in many ways just an ordinary, average American family. But his status as a non-citizen puts the family at risk. Although as a nation we speak about caring for our families and how important intact families are to the welfare of our nation, it's tragic that many of our families are placed in a precarious situation because of immigration laws and our attitude toward those who desire to share the American dream along with us. We've been talking this morning and during this Eastertide about modern families. This morning we'll be examining what it takes to keep family ties strong and together, and how some families can be untied, the knot broken, or even unraveled in such a demanding time in our culture as now. The Ruiz family has not asked for much. What they've asked for is to be able to live in the United States, to have a job, to worship the God they love, and to raise a family. And that would be enough, it seems. But we have not yet found a way to ensure that those who come to us illegally because of trouble and difficulty in their homeland can stay and raise a family. This family may be untied and separated soon. What makes for a modern family? How can we best support all families today in our culture? And what makes for a healthy attitude about caring for families? Now, this morning, even those of us who are here legally and sitting in the pews, we could use some help. Today, do you know that the divorce rate for first marriages is between, some people say it's 51%. I think it's between 40 and 50%. And for second marriages, the divorce rate is even higher. It's at 60%. Recent statistics declare that young folks are waiting longer to get married these days, and some in the midst of that are even citing the fact that cohabitating is a lot easier, more fun, and economically smarter than making an investment in marriage. And for the first time ever in our country, there are as many single-led households as there are double. And many women are having babies without benefit of marriage. For a country that states that it is determined to be focused on families, we seem to be in a time when we need to be more focused on the challenge of our families and the way that families and the structure of families are changing. It seems that for many decades, the church has been viewed as the keeper of the status quo, but that too has changed over past decades, as the church too has been needing to make a response to changes in culture. Same-sex covenants, now same-sex marriage, divorce, respect for those who are single for life, who have made that choice, or become single in the midst of life. All these shifts have impacted congregational life in powerful ways. I believe that the gift that the church is called upon to bring to the table of this changing culture is an odd gift. Instead of trying to keep things the same and decrying how awful these times are and why can't everybody look the same, I believe the church is called to bring a new gift to the table. This morning, our text talks about love casting out fear. I'm wondering if the opposite of fear is actually confidence. Confidence in love, and confidence in the risk that we are taking when we are brave enough to be the people we are, pursuing the love that God calls us to pursue. There have been many times in my life, and I'm looking out over the sanctuary this morning, there have been many times in my life when I've counseled a couple who has decided to be married. Most always, I have this deep feeling that the two people sitting in front of me are deeply in love, and I have the feeling that they will make a good marriage. But we don't always know what lies ahead, do we? There will be struggles and disappointments, and for some even tragedy, as well as fun and wonderful times as we create and build a marriage. I believe that the challenge lies in how we are called to handle the struggles of life, and if we can be confident in our own ability to love and be loved. Sometimes in a marriage, this means getting over personal fear or anger in order to come to some place of confidence in the enterprise love can be. Sometimes marriage, relationships are just plain hard work. Can I get an amen? We don't always get what we want, as the Rolling Stones remind us, and we don't always get what we want to desire. Some relationships come to a place where they become untied for whatever reason. This moment is such an important moment for the church. Rather than sitting in judgment or taking sides, the church can become once again that place where in the midst of life, hope and forgiveness and love can enter in. In the midst of life's biggest sorrows, death, divorce, separation, loss, the community called church must reflect the love we know and are assured of in God. And there is nothing that separates us when love, the love we know, is a confident love, absent of fear. Let's take a moment and return to Daniel Ruiz, who's sitting in church this morning. He's sitting in Shadyside Sanctuary this very morning in a place that has given him sanctuary, and that sanctuary is the same place where he slept last night. The church is called sometime to step outside of the culture that surrounds it, to be something of an outlaw or an outlier, a sanctuary, a place where there is confidence in God, who stands on the side of strong love, always overwhelming fear and judgment. Here is, I believe, the real focus on God's real family and a call to stand for love and justice. In the midst of a culture that is shifting so quickly and not always supportive of the other, the one that doesn't fit in, the one that doesn't belong, whether it is an outsider or an outlier, the church has a powerful role to claim, a sanctuary. God calls us into a deep community of acceptance and forgiveness. God calls us into radical attentiveness with those who are struggling to be seen and to be heard, and into a stance of love and justice for those who discover themselves in a life they may not have wanted, a life they may not have expected or asked for. The God we know, the God I believe in, is a God of a perfect kind of love. Love that overwhelms human fears, withholding condemnation and judgment. God who is confident in love, not tentative or withholding or trepidatious. The gospel uses the word perfect, but I see perfect not as flawless, but perfect as whole-making, full-bodied love. We, as human beings, are flawed and we struggle. And it's the unconditional love that we are all searching for and long for, that we desire in order to live and have our being in the world. As members of Christ's body, the church on earth, confident love is the love that we can supply to each other. It is the love that God gives to us. It is the love that the world desires. Confident love. Amen.